something that really is amazing, really. They have taken a deliberate decision to make sure that their country is clean. And their program, the once every weekend of the month to clean up, which is led by the president himself, has done a good job for Rwanda because they are leading by example. So I will just move on to my presentation. Rwanda is not a very big country, but they have a population of 11.4 million, and their major economic activities, tourism being number one, mining and agriculture. I'm going to talk about Rwanda Tourism, Rwanda Development Board, because earlier on, I think quite a number of presenters were mentioning how Rwanda is doing. We had statistics of their competitiveness, and we have how they've reduced the difficulties in investing in Rwanda, how they've eliminated the bureaucracies. So the board which is responsible for all that is Rwanda Development Board. It was established in 2008. Prior to the establishment of Rwanda Development Board, there were several institutions. I think they were in the same situation we find ourselves into right now. And again, they were all asking for different permits, different licenses, different fees. In actual fact, we were told that they were using licenses as a funding modality for their operations. So when they looked at that, they decided to have a wholesome approach to fast-track economic development in Rwanda and to eradicate bureaucratic processes that were impeding on their economic growth. How did they do that? This program was being spearheaded by the president himself, and it was housed in the office of the president. And what they did was identifying what they were calling the key objectives. What do we want to do, or what do we want to achieve as a country? And one of them was they wanted foreign direct investment, they wanted to create employment, and they wanted to increase their export earnings. They wanted foreign currency in Rwanda. So to achieve this, they then identified who is going to drive these three key critical areas for us to achieve as a country. And they identified what they call cross-cutting departments. These are like departments that will impede or impact on each and every other sector, for example, transport. They also looked at the economic clusters. These are which clusters can we identify, which can bring in money for Rwanda, and tourism is in that cluster. They also looked at strategy. What strategic interventions would we have which will support our services? And in that cluster you would find ICT. So in doing this, they then decided to have a rationalization program, and this was done through the formation of Rwanda Development Board. Challenges, obviously, we all resist change. Changes are things that people are not so comfortable with for different reasons. Some of the reasons are selfish reasons, and some of the reasons are feeling that they are going to lose what they would ordinarily have. But they needed to do this, and they did it. So there were so many uncertainties by the different heads, obviously, who were heading these different institutions to say what will be my future when the board is in place. Ministries as well, they felt they would be diluted, their power and authority would be diluted. They were also feeling maybe these are different institutions we want to bring together with one boss, one chief executive. How is this going to work? And they were also having fears of how should be the structure be? How are we going to define the structure? And the president said, we were told, he then decided to bring in someone from outside who was not part of all the heads of these institutions which were existing, to remove this animosity which was there. And they implemented what they wanted to implement. After 2 years, they evaluated to see how was this new board working. And they restructured, basing on those people who were still resisting, who were still remaining in their silos. They really had to eliminate them through the restructuring process. So their vision, the current vision of Rwanda, is to transform Rwanda into a dynamic global hub for business, investment, and innovation. It's very clear, precise with the issues that they want to achieve. Functions. The functions of Rwanda Development Board, you will see as I go through the functions that all the issues that we were highlighting here that are housed in different entities, different institutions, maybe different ministries, they were all brought in together within the clusters that I mentioned earlier on. And one of their key functions is investment promotion and facilitation. So they look at global investment promotion, they look at industry development, they look at aftercare. Aftercare is when they go to companies that they would have issued with an investment certificate and see how are they doing, do they have challenges, do they have problems, and resolve them. Then they have a practical one-stop shop. When I mean practical, I mean everything is being done under one floor, one building, same officers doing everything. So you walk in, you apply for starting your business. Within 6 hours, you already have your investment certificate. We practically saw it happening in Rwanda. So they have incentives within the one-stop center. They have people who are looking at incentives continuously. What can we do to improve our investors? They are looking at the environmental impact assessment is done within that one-stop shop. The registration and the public notary. So everything is done once, and you walk in and you walk out, and you are into business. They also have export and business development. I think that one is very straightforward. They also do SMEs and business development. And their special economic zones are also housed within that. There is no other authority or board which is looking into the export economic zones. They also have Office of the Registrar, which looks at the registration of companies. I think here in Zimbabwe, you register your company somewhere else, then you go to the Investment Authority, then you go. In Rwanda, that is housed within the Rwanda Development Board. And they also have the services development. They are looking at customer care. I think earlier on we mentioned the different issues to do with customer care, the police and things like that. In Rwanda, they have that department which looks at the customer care within all the services, all those areas I mentioned earlier on, that they really want to drive their three key objectives. They look at also financial services in supporting all those three key areas. Service development as well in terms of health, education, and insurance. Tourism is one of the key sector in Rwanda, and it contributes the #1 economic activity in Rwanda, and they regard it so highly to the extent that there is no activity or policy or regulation which is imposed on the tourism sector without the approval of Rwanda Development Board, the tourism division. So they consider tourism very strategic for Rwanda. They also have the conservation under the same Rwanda Development Board, ICT business development, looking at the policies, the programs that can be implemented in terms of growing their ICT as a support as well as a service that they would want to extend and gain out of that. They also have agriculture development. They are looking at policies, programs, investment promotion in agriculture. So when you look at Rwanda Development Board, you can see that they've really put all the things that matter to them under one board. And they are all working, and it becomes easier for them because the chief executive is one, and whichever department they have to have interlinkages because they want to achieve those three key objectives: create employment, increase their export earnings, as well as investment. They're related to the president. And the chief executive is also a member of the cabinet. They highlighted that so that you put on spot wherever area he is having problems, and he will also be asked questions on areas that they feel are lagging behind. And the top executive consists of the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, and the chief tourism officer. So these three, including the chief executive, are driving all those functions I highlighted earlier on. Key achievements. I'm sure earlier on so many achievements were mentioned that they have managed to achieve in terms of their ranking, in terms of what is happening in their tourism, in terms of how they are being viewed globally as a country which is open for business. So they have also reduced all those regulatory authorities that was being highlighted by the doctor earlier on to say you need 15 licenses, 17 licenses. In Rwanda, they have rationalized that. They have about 5 regulatory authorities only. Rwanda Development Board, which I'm referring to now, they have the Rwanda Revenue Authority, the Rwanda Central Bank, Rwanda Utility and Regulatory Authority. They look at all issues to do with your water, your rates, all those things are harmonized within that authority. And then they all obviously have the airport authority. So I've already mentioned the company registration. It happens within 24 hours. In fact, now it's 6 hours. And then the tourism is currently #1 foreign currency earner and 3rd in attracting FDI. They have also, Kigali now is ranked 2nd in terms of conferencing business after Cape Town. And in terms of MICE, we all know the power of MICE in driving tourism in any economy. In terms of MICE business, Rwanda is ranked 7th in Africa. And really, when you go to Rwanda, we were talking to the hoteliers and they were saying their average occupancy hovers around 70%. And in terms of environmental stability, they are ranked 22nd and business environment 25th in the world. What has really driven them to achieve this success? What is it that made them achieve this? Political will at the highest level. The president himself was willing to have this in place, and it was indeed in place. Zero tolerance to corruption. They have systems in place that ensures whoever is corrupt, you go on to public prosecution, and there are consequences to that. They have clear set targets that are highlighted earlier on. And from these key objectives or key targets, they draw their budgets. And they have an effective monitoring and evaluation based system where whatever amount of money you've been given to implement a program, you have to outline what you are going to achieve with that amount of money. After the program, they will come in and assess. They have a whole unit which looks at seeing whether the money that you were given was put to good use and the results were achieved. You are not just given money and it ends there. They have practically implemented the one-stop shop, and they've reduced the bureaucracies, the licenses, and they have experts whom they call to coach their own personnel in areas that they feel they are weak. They have a continuous training and adjusting to global trends, continuous learning process. And the government is the chief negotiator. The Rwanda Development Board is the chief negotiator of the government. So whatever deals the country wants to get into, they have a team of analysts, lawyers, specialists who look thoroughly into the deals and see whether it is favorable for Rwanda as a country or is favorable to individuals. So every deal has to go through the Rwanda Development Board and be approved. They also faced some challenges within their road. One of them was they have too many goals. They want to achieve more, but they are limited by resources. They are eager to go and they are raring to go, but resources limit them. They also have other procedures that they feel are not favorable to them. For example, they mentioned that they have a 16% VAT, which they are looking at to review because they feel the UNWTO is advocating for eradicating so many taxes. So that's one area they mentioned they are looking at to see how they can rationalize that. And they also mentioned that they still have image issues. In as much as we have seen so much progress that they have registered, they indicated that they are concerned as well by what happened in their past, and they continuously work to make sure that the image is corrected through what they do. They say what they deliver what they say, and they've put systems and policies in place to make sure that security issues are taken care of so that they won't have anything that will reignite the image issues related to the decade of genocide. In conclusion, we feel when we look at Rwanda, what they have gone through and what they have done and what they're continuously doing and what they aspire to do, we see a lot of lessons for Zimbabwe. And we believe if we are serious about ease of doing business in Zimbabwe, if we are serious about all the 8 issues that were pointed out by Dr. Mnyeza earlier on and other speakers earlier on, we need to consider establishing an institution similar to Rwanda Development Board. We can only achieve more when we work as a team and we have a common goal, we have common vision, and we join together to achieve that. Right now, I feel as a country, there's a lot of individualistic going on, be it in different institutions or in different individuals.
These and other stories, visit our website www.263chat.com. Follow us on Twitter @263chat and like our Facebook page 263chat.